How are we doing?
Good.
Yeah, man. Paul's story. A complex and twisted tale. Fire away, mate. Wherever you want to go.
Yeah, I don't know really where to start from where we left off, really.
Shall we talk about that workshop? That might be the best way to go.
Yeah. So anyone listening, probably people might know my story who work with me. Obviously, they will know. People might not know what happened to me. So it was probably 2014, 2015, with the workshops in Forest Bank. They do a lot of good stuff in there. With
just explain what they are, because a lot of people said, you know, just a lot of people don't understand prison.
Yeah.
So sentenced prisoner is required to work, aren't they?
They are, yeah.
So the workshops are exactly what they said. Industries, they call them there. When I were there, they had an auto electrician's workshop, welding workshop. This is one of them where prisoners go to work.
Yeah, I think there's about, off the top of my head, there's probably about 8 workshops in there. So where all the house blocks are, twice a day, morning and afternoon, you'd go mass movement to work, and then the prisoners would go to wherever they were going, either working in kitchens, working in industries, education, where they do a lot of education, good stuff for the lads. So these workshops are different little bits. I had Marshall Tough Licks.
What's that?
Like sockets, parts, and different things, plug sockets and whatnot. So that was a workshop. Years ago, they had a double glazing one.
Yeah, they did.
Which was good. I mean, all this as well is money for the prison. It's getting things in. Although it's good for the lads to get jobs and whatnot that can get them something on the out. It's also a way of making money for the prisons as well, and the companies, because they're getting cheap labour for doing what
they pay better than normal prison wages, though, don't they? A lot of these workshops.
Some do, yeah, depending on what and how many hours they go in and whatnot. And sometimes, as it got sort of the business in the industries was booming in there, they were coming after 5 o'clock and they were working later on.
Oh, were they?
Yeah, so you'd have a member of staff stay there because there was just demand for whatever product they were given. So all these workshops are different ones. So they had a chocolate workshop once. The chocolate bars were coming out of everywhere you went.
Well,
there was
what were they doing with them,
packing them, I think. Yeah, that was a few. But you used to go into managers' offices and there's fucking chocolate bars would just fall out drawers, and you're going into lads' cells and there was
chocolate everywhere. Yeah.
It was crazy. So the lads once or twice a day will go to work, spend a couple of hours down there, whatever workshop they're working in. Once it's time for them to go back to the wings for dinner time and that, then they go back. So these workshops, we had Timpson's working there, do a lot of good work with Timpson's. First they had a bookshop. It was weird. They had like a massive, huge library of books. So they were coming in off the trucks, and then they were getting put in order. So I don't know how they were doing it. Packaged all up, cellophaned up. Said they had like Harry Potter's or kids' books or legal books, or they were all getting packed up together and then shipped off to wherever. I don't know why or how or what it was for, but that was what it was. And then they had a DVD shop. At first, it was just people were like, have you seen this DVD shop in industries? And all they were doing at first, they were getting a load of old DVDs and just they were called mulching them. They were just basically putting them in like a machine, squishing them all down, making it into sort of some mixture or whatever, and then they were just getting rid of it.
Oh yeah.
So it was weird. It was like brand new films for whatever reason. So people were like, oh. So we started finding these DVDs in people's cells because you could use them on the PlayStations and all this.
Chocolate DVDs.
Chocolate DVDs. It was all right. I mean, even they had, funny enough, just thinking about it, they had a workshop that had kids' toys, so kiddies' toys, whatever they were. Now, who would you think they would have them in the workshop? They used having the sex offenders. That was their workshop.
Wow.
I mean, that's how crazy and stupid it was. That was their. So you go into cells doing cell searches on that wing, and you were finding kids' toys and whatever, and you're like, whose idea was this kind of thing? Do you know what I mean? So they had a lot of different shops And the officers down there, they're great, you know. Like
Industries lads, I know a lot of them lads.
Superb, yeah.
Yeah, good
the lads. You know, Keith Sullivan. Yeah, we talked about Jimmy. Jimmy worked down there. Who went to old school lads. And
he was.
Keith Sullivan and people where he started down there. And it's good for, you know, it's sometimes lads and girls who have worked on the wings for a long time, and they want a break and they go down Industries, and it's a little bit more chill for them. So
to be fair, some of them workshops as well.
Jimmy Thomas,
yeah. They were purposeful activity, as in you could learn something, take it out, and
yeah, it's productive. I say, and it gets them off the cells and whatever, and it, you know. So one day these DVDs started turning up. We were finding them all around the place, and you know, and then for some reason, all of a sudden, word got around that these DVD, there was like this workshop, and it was massive. I think it was Morrison's, affiliated with Morrison's. So anyway, this workshop was huge, and then outside of the workshop at the back, they had a massive hangar. It was just like with a bit of like a big sheet that had come across, and all these deliveries just kept coming every other day, of games, DVDs, box sets of stuff,
video games,
yeah, PlayStation, Xbox, and the cards as well. See, I'm not a very big gamer. My son's got one. But
no, I don't understand.
The vouchers, so you don't have to have a physical game. You buy a voucher and you download it or something like that. So you had all these. Now we're talking thousands. I mean, we're talking, say a new game came out, FIFA 2000 or whatever, 2020. So they go for like 50, 60 quid, I think.
Yeah, they are expensive games.
You're having workshop piled high of these games, like thousands, millions of pounds worth of these games, and outside as well.
Literally millions.
It must have been. And outside, you had this big hangar full of boxes of crates of DVDs, box sets, Game of Thrones, Star Wars, you know, Ultimate Editions, you know, the £80, and they had thousands of them, and they were getting, and then like outside, if the rain or the wind was coming, the sheet would blow across, and we were just getting damaged. Rain was coming in, and all these games.
What were they doing with it? Were they going back out?
Yeah, they were like packaging. I think what they were doing, they were just coming in willy-nilly, and then they were separating them, scanning them, and then packaging them up, I think, and then sending them off elsewhere. But then the workshop, but they were all like organised in the actual workshop, and so they were all like, you know, all boxed, whatever, FIFA 2020 there, blah 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 blah, you know. So, and then I think they must have just been, I really don't understand why they were there or what it was for.
Yeah.
They were obviously making money in a way, but I don't know the complexities of really what it was all about.
Yep.
So you were finding these games in cells. You're like, where are these coming from? And then obviously when prisoners go back to the wings from a house block, you get rubbed down searches and whatnot. You know, sometimes, you know, they were hiding them, and especially these codes, these cards, you know, £40 cards, you know, those boxes of them, so thousands of pounds, and they were sending them out to the families, you know, in letters and, you know, and whatnot, or giving the codes over the phone or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And so word got around.
There's a way.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So word got around, so yeah, and so a lot of people, as I say, got onto that kind of thing, and then whereas what happened was a lot of, well, there was a certain member of staff, a lad called Carl Byron. Now he started as a PCO with me on my wing, on B wing. Decent lad, funny, got on well with the prisoners and whatnot. And at the time, when you tried to get your seniors badge, your red badge, it was very difficult. It didn't come up very often. He'd been there about 8 months. He'd gone for the actual seniors job, and he wasn't. A lot of people didn't like him. He thought he was a bit smarmy or whatever. So word got around that he was going for the seniors, and people were put out like, well, you're not really allowed, because the requirements were you'd have to be there 2 years before you go for your red badge. He'd been there 8 months, so you shouldn't have had your application accepted at that time. Anyway, he got it accepted. Campbell Martin accepted it, so he got in that way. Long story short, he ended up getting his seniors, because he could talk well, and he was impressive on his interview from what I heard. He got a seniors job, I think he went on to E-wing, which was the induction wing at the time as a senior.
Was it still the best wing, that?
The cleanest wing, yeah, because it's, obviously you're getting, lads aren't staying on there very long. You get your cleaners on there who know, they look after a lot of the stuff, make sure everywhere's clean and tidy, and you basically just having the lads on there for a couple of days before you assign them a wing, whether they need a detox wing, whether they need to just go on. At the time we were having, I think D2 was over 40s wing, thing like that. So you
over 40s,
over 40s, yeah, or Cat D wing, or a quiet wing. So you do that. So yeah, that was always a quiet wing. So we went on there for a little short time. Didn't last long. On there, he got a final written warning for something. I can't remember what it was. Something to do with a roll count, I think. Got a final written warning with that, and then I think he went on nights as a Oscar 2, which is basically your support for your Oscar 1, which was a senior's role.
Were they not the SEG SOs then? They used to have the senior officers. When I were there, they'd have the Oscar 1 and the senior officer who on nights, it used to be your Oscar 2.
Yeah, it used to be, but when they took all these staff off nights and replaced them with auxiliaries, that sort of changed. So they give a specific role for an Oscar 1 and Oscar 2 on nights.
They're the shift managers.
They're the shift managers. So Carl Barron went on to nights as an Oscar 2, and he worked a lot with Dave Collins, a mate of mine, really good officer. So we went on nights. Not long after that, something happened. He did something with his overtime. He was fiddling his overtime. Something was wrong with a couple of shifts. He got investigated with that. He got another final written warning for that. So again, that's 2 final written warning on his file. Then he went back onto days then, and he got a job. Funnily enough, he got a job as the senior security officer, which is, just says what it is really. It's a senior officer in security, so you deal with all the paperwork, all the security information reports coming in. You do have a security manager in there, and then you have a head of operations who's above them.
Managers in the private sector are like governors in the public sector. Similar, isn't it? You have prison officers, senior officers, red badges, your Oscar 1s, and then you've got your managers, which are like governor sort of level, aren't they?
Yeah. So Carl got himself in there as a security senior, networking up there, and he's basically up there in the admin office. Now the admin office is where the top managers are always in. They very rarely go down to the jail. So that's where he was up there getting all the security information. Our security senior, it's a big job, because you've got to know who your prisoners are in your jail. You've got to know who's on your wing. If somebody gets put down into segregation or CSU department, if they've received on a visit.
CSU's Care and Separation Unit, SEG, block, whatever you want to call them. They start calling them Care and Separation Units to get away from the stigma and the kudos.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the reason they did it, isn't it?
So you get a lot of your dynamic sort of security information from people that get caught receiving on visits. They get took down to segregation, CSU departments, and it's your job then is to try and get some information. A lot of these lads go on visits and get bullied to going on there to receiving and that kind of thing.
Yep.
So you go down there and you do what you need to do, speak to those people, see if they give you any information, see what's going on. And we don't like to use the word grasses or informants, but you'll have your informants around the jail who are telling you who's got what and whatever, standard in every jail.
To them, right? I never worked in security. Obviously, every prison has informants. They get. I do know in a lot of prisons. I got warned. Somebody give me some information, yeah. So again, the SIR or IR security report. Somebody says something to me, a prisoner. I put that report in, that goes to security, it gets all documented and filed. The security department had a go at me and said, you're not a qualified handler, you shouldn't be dealing with this. I said, the guy has just told me something, I've handed it in. But at Forest Bank, did they have handlers? So a prisoner comes forward with information on the prisoner, he's got a phone. Are they managed just by the security department?
Depends on the level. It doesn't have to be that. As you go higher up within the security department, the highest is what we call a chiz. See, and you have to have special training for that.
What's that stand for?
I can't remember what the acronym stands for now, but it's high level. Not many jails. I think Forest Bank towards the end started it, but it's such a minefield, you see, because it's basically a government thing where you have a prisoner who's willing to give information at such a high level. The information's that good.
There's a lot more of this now, isn't there?
Yeah,
than there used to be.
Yeah, well, with regards to terrorism and that kind of thing.
And is there any benefit to them prisoners becoming informants?
Yeah, there is. With a chiz, because there's so many so paperwork with regards to it, and the levels are, if this prisoner something happens to him, only the governor, it'll be in a safe. So the file of this prisoner, it won't be known. Nobody will know who the prisoner is. He'll have a nickname, or
this is how it was. Well, high security state, obviously Strangeways, but that's how it was conducted. It was all very much.
Yeah.
You know, it was. If
you're a handler as a chiz, nobody will know. Nobody will know that you're handling a specific person. You'll know the person. You'll know him by name, and you'll know, but you might call him something else. The governor will have it in a safe, locked up. Nobody else will know. No other managers. Nothing.
These are obviously very, very trusted positions, aren't they?
Very trusted. You know, yeah, it's training, and it's got to be the right prisoner as well. You just can't have it, because they could have information. You're working with the police as well. It's not just within jails. You could be working. The information he could be giving you could have benefits to an outside.
Did you have a police liaison in Forest Bank?
Yeah, there's always a police liaison officer. We had several, but even he wouldn't know anything about that. It'd be on a higher level. Everything would be logged. Would be in, you know, between. Right. But that's at a high level, because, as I say, a lot of stuff there was one in particular that was a lot of the gang issues in Manchester, and a lot of that was cracked, came from an informant within jails. So every jail will have that availability of having a chiz. There could be one prisoner, you could have a few. It all depends, but that's at the highest level. If you've just got a normal person informant, then that could be anything. He could be you if you work in SEG. Yep. You knew you on. He'll talk to you, but he won't talk to anyone else. Yep. You could then relay it onto security. They might not want to talk to security. They might just want to talk to you. So that's the security manager's job to say, yep, right, you deal with him, or, you know, and that's your relationship. You give me that information, and then we'll go from there. Otherwise, it could, you know, it could be a security SO.
It is a position of integrity working in the security department in any jail, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, and it's difficult sometimes to get you know, you've got to find your ways of getting your information off a prisoner without them getting in trouble, because if people know that you're obviously or suspect that you're giving information as a grass,
they're going to get damaged, aren't they?
It's going to end in tears. So, you know, you could have to be clever and say, well, I tell you what, make up a visit or give them a pink slip. You have to have a slip to leave the wing for whatever reason. So I could ring up to you on D-Wing and say, can you send blah 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 up to reception? He's got a parcel, or he's got cash that he needs to sign for, or I could meet him somewhere on the main street, yeah, or I could bump into an education. So you had to find places that you could get the information without, you know, putting that person in danger. So Byron got the security job as a senior, but he wasn't that great, to be fair. You know, he wouldn't really know any of his prisoners. He wouldn't get the information, you know, off you know, the people that he needed to be, really. So he wormed his way in there, and what he did, he used people really in a way, because he'd get what he needed, he'd get promoted, and then he'd just crack on to the next thing, and he knew what he wanted. He was quite driven that way. So at the time, I think Mick Higgins was a manager. Good manager, good lad, Mick.
We'll mention the good ones.
Yeah, he was a security manager at the time, I think. Mick, Byron was his SO. And with Forest Bank, it's weird. Someone does a good job in a certain position as a manager or whatever, then they'll decide to change it all up, and then they'll move him to somewhere else, which defeats I don't know why they do it. So
you know what? They used to do that. It's like, it's ridiculous, isn't it? If you've got someone in a position who is doing a good job, especially like security manager, You're going to leave them there, aren't you?
Of course, because especially security. I mean, Tim, we know Tim White did it.
Yeah,
and
he was
great.
Manager, yeah.
Paul Nash did it before him when I first started.
Yeah,
everyone's different,
manager.
but you've got to, you know, as a security manager, you've got to make these difficult decisions. You'll get threats all the time because you're putting people on closed visits, you're transferring people, you're getting the information off them. So if your name at the end of it, if you send a letter to a prison and say, right, you don't close visits, your name's on the bottom of that
you've
piece
got a lot
of
of
paper.
responsibilities on
So
you.
it's a difficult job, and as I say, knowing who's in your jail and knowing who's the risks and the gangs and everything, you've got to be on top. It's not a job that you can just, security managers just can't give that job to anybody. You've got to have experience of jail, of being a manager at that level before you get, and then you can go to a security manager. It's a different level than just being a wing manager.
Definitely.
You need a lot more to your game than that. And Mick had experience, he's been old course, Tim's been you know, years of experience. So then, I don't know what it was, I can't remember the dynamics of why the position of security manager came up. Campbell Martin was the operations manager. So he was above everybody in that respect. There was something happened anyway.
So do you have a number one, number two?
Yeah.
Number one governor, number two, and then is it like operations manager?
Head of ops, which is like your visits,
yeah.
Your security, reception.
Yeah.
Then you'll have.
Then there's another layer of management under that.
Yeah, and then there's, you know, head of residence, which is under that, which you're responsible for the wings then.
Yeah.
So and then you've got your wing managers. So you're, you know, so you've got that sort of level. So there are structures. Head of ops is a big thing because.
Yeah.
You know, you're in charge of the security manager. You're in charge of the dynamics of the jail, really. Do you know what I mean? If anything happens, then it should really be on your watch. So a job came up for the security manager. And there was a few good candidates, and names were in a hat. And then the surprising thing that surprised everyone was Carl Byron went from security senior to security manager.
Big step.
Huge step. You know, it's regarding, you know, he's not done the Oscar 1. He's not been a manager on a wing. And then he's got the top security manager's job. So everyone was like, what's going on there? How the hell's he got that job? Because he wasn't even a great officer, do you know what I mean? And then so he had friends in high places. How he got that job, I'll never know. He never should have got that job. I know later on how he got that job. That was from his relationship with the personnel manager at the time, a woman called Paula Johnson. She was she'd come from outside somewhere, no jail experience, and she was another one, you know, she'd sit in with interviews and that with jobs, and she'd be a decision maker for people getting these jobs.
I've never understood that with the private sector. And I never will, how they promote people from, I'm not saying there's not good managers, but they promote people from civilian positions into, Sodexo do this, into high positions in a prison where you need knowledge and experience. So they'll take someone out of an office who has no experience in prison. They're like an office worker. That's not demeaning anyone who works in offices. They're an office worker. They don't know how prisons run. They don't know prisoners or anything. And they'll take them out of that office and they will give them head of residence somewhere in a prison.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really, in Forest Bank, it never, they used to, like, go outside, you know, for managers' jobs, like what you're saying. Where it got to Forest Bank, they would just started employing whoever was better on the interview. Now, you know what it's like. You could be great on an interview. You could blind someone with science for an hour and have the best interview you've ever had. It doesn't mean you're good at your job. It just means you're impressed on the interview. Now, Matt Spencer, who was the governor, Neil Pearson, the Dep, Paula Johnson, I think Campbell Martin may have been on the interview process. Anyway, he got the job. The whole jail just like, what, incredulous word of the day. They used that earlier, didn't we? They couldn't believe it. So everyone was like, what the heck's gone here? I can't. So I remember the next day, Matt Spencer came down to the hub during medication as he did.
Was he number one?
He's the number one. He's the one that wrecked the whole place. So he come down and he was like, Paul, you okay? I was like, yeah, no problem. What's going on today? I was like, well, the usual, whatever, what we've got on, no normal day. How's everyone? How's the staff? So I just thought, they're all a bit shocked, really.
With these conversations, right, number ones I've met, good number ones, like I told you, they'll come around, they'll know what's happening, they will know what's happening in your department, so they'll have specific conversations, not just general. You know, Richard Vince, I remember him, Strangeways, he come on healthcare, Samworth, how's it going? How's so-and-so, if you've got a problematic prisoner, how's this? You know, knew the work at the prison and was approachable and that sort of thing. Was he not like that?
No, he was a complete idiot, to be fair. He had no knowledge of what was going on. He just walked around. You could tell he'd walk around, people would try and avoid him and it's not because they were fearful of him. It was just because he was an absolute idiot.
That's not a good sign, is it?
There's nothing, you know, he'd come down, he might know your name, you know, and say, look, you know, hello, Paul, you know, but it was just meaningless nothingness. He'd just talk, and it was just like, there was nothing coming out of the guy. There was no personality to him at all. So people would chew their arm off to get away from him, because it was just like standing around and like, for fuck's sake, do you know what I mean, go away. So we come down and he said, how's the staff, you know, the morale, how's it going? And this is a time that he hadn't been there that long, but he'd been there long enough.
Have you got sort of a time frame when this was about? Ish.
I'd say it was probably, it'd probably be about, the time going back now, what years? It's probably around 2016.
Right, okay.
Something around there, I'd say.
Were you Oscar then? You've been Oscar for a long time now, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been there a while. So, I mean, and as I say, I've got no axe to grind with people getting promotions, because I didn't go for the jobs, so it didn't bother me, because I was happy with what I was doing. So he comes down, he said, how's the troops? I was like, well, they're a bit shocked, to be honest with you, Matt. And he's like, why? So, well, they're just wondering how Byron got that job. And he said, why don't you think he's up to it? And I was like, no, because, you know, he's not done the job. He's done the senior's job for 6 months, maybe on a wing, and that's it. You know, and he's been given this job, and I put a lot of noses out of joint. A lot of managers, experienced, good managers. A good friend of mine, Debbie Ashcroft. She was one of the. She should have really been in a position to get that job, and she didn't. And it was just total shock to everyone. Now, again, years later on, once I'd found out that Carl was actually having an affair with the personnel manager Paula, and she obviously greased the wheels for him, put a good word in for him to get the job. Other than that, I can imagine his interview would have been great.
Again, I'm going to interject. If I was a governor or the dep of head of operations in any prison, security manager, we've already talked about that job. It's not like any other manager's job. You do need experience. You need to know what you're doing. You need to be involved in stuff. I'd want a decent manager, me, with experience. And as a number one, a number two, and an operations manager, any bad feelings towards people aside, you'll know who the good managers are.
Of course, and that's the weird thing, because if they don't know the perception of people and what the reputations are, and all they're going off is an hour interview, then it's wrong. Do you know what I mean? Because you should have a body of work. If you're working a long time, they should know what you've done. They should know where you've worked. You should know you worked in SEG. You know you worked in reception.
Yep.
You know you've done your rip around the jail.
Yep.
He had none of that. You know, so it's just as much their fault for putting him in that position, because he wasn't equipped to do it. I didn't know the levels of what he was doing up there. He was networking, he was mates with Campbell, they were best mates, you know, they'd get on, they'd have laughs, you know, he'd tell jokes because he was a funny lad, you know, and he was in with Matt Spencer, he was in with Neil Pearson, the deputy, he was really close to him. So he got in there just by being him, you know, but he was doing a lot of things behind the scenes as well. So Carl got that job as security manager.
Yep.
And there we are with that. Now, I don't really how to sort of go into it. So, long story short, I'd say 2018. What are we on now? 2018.
21 now,
so
mate.
Probably 2000. Yeah, summer 2017 maybe.
Yep.
Carl got arrested. Him and his colleague Anthony Bradbury, who worked in security with him,
got arrested away from the prison.
Away from him. He just didn't turn up one day in work. So we were like, where is he today? Because I think he was meant to be Victor 2, who was in charge of the jail at that day. Anyway, he didn't turn up. All right, well, okay, he must have been sick or something's happened or there's a family emergency or whatever. So next day I get a phone call from a mate, Liam Brady, and he said, have you heard the news? I was like, no, Byron's been arrested. I was like, fucking hell, what for? Games and DVDs from the workshop.
This is the workshop?
This is the workshop. Now, this had been going on. I knew Carl had been taking games and DVDs. A lot of people knew he was doing it. Now, for people who don't know my story as well, a year later, I got arrested for the same thing. Total idiot. No one's to blame but myself. I, again, started taking games and DVDs from the workshops. Started off as taking a couple out for my son. And then it got to a stage that it was every other day. It was when I was in, it was easy. And I was taking games in a bag home because it wasn't governed. It wasn't governed. So, and that's not an excuse. You know, I was stupid. I started taking games.
Are they brand new, these games?
Yeah, brand new in cellophane.
Package?
Yeah. Anything you can think of. Any games that you can, you know, Xbox, PlayStations.
So, cheap games like 30 quid, aren't they? Some of these games are 60 quid.
Yeah, 60 quid. And then there was DVDs, box sets, DVDs, Games of Thrones and all these things there, 60, 70 quid. And like an idiot, I just got greedy and stupid because I was doing my job every day as normal. But at the end of the day, when I'd finish my shift and everyone would go home, I'd walk into the workshops and take games home. And then what I'd do, I'd sell them on eBay. Like an absolute fool. And then there's nothing I can say or give any justification to that. I was stupid, you know, and I look back now and think, what was I doing? But I did, you know, and I did it for probably about a year, 18 months.
Was this workshop like busy then, and stuff were coming in, like stock were coming in all the time?
Every other day I think they were coming in.
So it's not documented. So if you took a box set, no one would know.
No one would know. And that's how easy it got. It started off with one, and you were worried, oh, you know, is that going to get noticed? Is anyone going to notice that's gone? And then you realise nobody notices it's gone. So then you take two, and then you realise, oh, this is easy money, and you know it's wrong. You know, I look back and think, well, I don't know. I can't apologise enough for doing it. And what an idiot I was doing. So I started taking games every day when I was in, selling them on eBay. So I was doing that. So I knew Carl was doing it, and it got to that stage. I don't know why I even started doing it. I don't know if it was. I look back and
were you? You're nothing to do with him?
No.
Are you doing it on your own?
Yeah. I had nothing to do with anybody. I knew Carl. I had suspicions at first that he was doing it. I'd see him down the workshops, or I'd see him round later on. See what had happened. He was arranging like his own overtime to search the workshops late at night after 5 o'clock, and he'd go down there and search. When he didn't need to do that, he had search teams to do that anyway. Yep. So I knew what he was doing. He knew I was taking stuff.
How did he know?
He mentioned something about eBay, about an account one day, and it got progressed from, he knew, and he made a comment. So then I said, all right, yeah. And he basically, yeah, no, don't worry about it. You know, and I know what you're doing, kind of thing. But
so he knew what you were up to.
Yeah, but I knew he knew that I knew what he was doing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So it was the kind of thing, I know what you're doing, you know what I'm doing, but I had nothing to do with him. You know, I wasn't a mate of his. I didn't talk to him outside the jail.
I will say this. I told you, we talked briefly about this before, that someone messaged me. I don't know. I do know the person. I don't know him as in they're anonymous, but they know me, and they've said that I do know them. That shitloads of people were doing it. Shitloads. Lots of people. Not just yourself and this security manager. He said it was just, he said it was very easy, and when he got arrested, half the jail was shitting themselves.
Yeah, it got to that stage because Byron was doing it. It just didn't. It wasn't just him doing what he was doing. He'd arranged sort of the whole department. It was weird to explain. Say he had a security team, and their job is to search in the mornings at half, before unlock, search during busy times of day where when they're not expecting it.
Yeah.
And they do urine testing and things like that. They do a lot of work within the jail, and you need them in the jail on a day, daytime.
Yeah, of course you do.
He was organising, and he was getting permission off head of management to take all these staff off days to search during night times when everyone's gone home, to do searching, go into cells and get some whatever it is, mobiles, drugs. They were finding mobiles were 10 a penny within the jail. There was
not just that jail, every jail.
Yeah, but there's loads. There was no justification or there was no reason. It's never been done before in the history of Forest Bank to do that. I don't think it does now. It doesn't do it now because there was no need for it. It was like, why are you taking all the staff off days that we need it during the daytime when we're busy?
Well, I will say in high security skate they might do targeted searches when they're dealing with Cat A prisons and stuff like that. Yeah. However, they have their own search teams there. They're not part of normal staffing.
Yeah,
so.
and we've had lockdowns before when it was police intelligence and they said, right, we need to lock this wing down. There's a phone with some evidence on there. Yeah. We need to get it. Fine, not a problem, not an issue with that. But he was manipulating the management structure for his own gains to get staff on nights. He was even driving his own cars in to the sterile area on nights, so he could go round the workshops at nights while the staff are searching, filling his car up and taking it home. I don't know for sure he was doing that, but I've got a pretty good idea that that's what he was doing, because there's no other reason for it.
No, you park your cars outside, don't you?
Exactly. Especially at night state. I mean, so he had that when he started searching on days. There was an idea of, right, we'll drive in the morning, because staff know if you're bringing drugs in, staff know what cars people drive. So if you see your car there, you might be a staff search this morning. So I get that on during days, but there was no need for it on nights. So he was manipulating that. So I was always under the impression that he wasn't doing it alone with regards to what he was doing. He had someone with him, whether that be.
Well, I'm trying to sort of think of this now. In a prison environment, if I was a manager, it'd be unusual, wouldn't it, if you saw a manager going somewhere or with a rucksack or.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's not.
Well, that's it. And as I was saying, he had like a little stash area. It was like down the back of a staircase where his.
Did everyone know this?
Not everyone.
Were people
a lot
talking
of
about this workshop in the jail?
Oh yeah.
Because any prison are their hive, aren't they? They're just like a soap.
Yeah.
There's just gossip going on, affairs, people up to this, people up to that, and it's...
Oh yeah, people can't hold their own piss, but the prison officers are worse than anyone.
Any jail, any jail.
Yeah, you can't keep a secret or whatever. So it was pretty well, and people will make jokes, even down the workshops or some games there and whatnot. See, I knew what I was doing. I didn't know what anyone else was doing. I knew what Byron was doing, but apart from that, I didn't know who else.
Yeah.
You see people, like you say, come in with bags and never been in the gym in their life. Yeah. But nothing to do with me,
Did you just keep yourself to yourself, really, on that front?
Yeah, totally. So nobody knew what I was doing. Nobody knew apart from Byron. I think, anyway. Because when the shit hit the fan and I got arrested, then people were like, from what I can make out, people were like, I didn't even think, you look back and it was the worst way, obviously, to leave the jail how I did. Because I didn't get the chance to say goodbye to a lot of people that were colleagues and friends. So Byron was doing that, and it was affecting the jail because the lack of staff during days and whatnot. He was manipulating it, and he was pulling so many strings behind the scenes with regards to. He was letting things go security wise because all he was doing was concentrating on his games and his workshops and getting what he could out of that every day and going home. And this is what a lot of it I'm learning later on, after the fact.
After the fact, yeah.
So yeah, so we used to pull a lot of strings, and he was behind the scenes as well. He was manipulating a lot of people, and he was bullying people to help him doing what he was doing, turning a blind eye to it. Now, Sonia Ebbs, who I spoke about in the last one, that she was basically one of the architects of the whole downfall of the jail and how bad it got with her bullying and her way of dealing with people. She was made aware of what he was doing previous to his arrest, and nothing got done about it.
Let's just explain about SIRs and the security department. SIR, Security Information Report, or IR, yeah, you put them in, all them should be documented and logged, shouldn't it?
Yeah.
So if I'm working at Forest Bank and I think something's happening, or I put something in, I'm putting that in good faith that my SIR will get logged on a system somewhere. You know, at Strangeways you used to get acknowledged, you get an acknowledgement that you'd put one in, and people who were sensible started doing them online and keeping a copy as well.
When it started, SIRs, it was on paper form. So I used to, you know, and any incident that happened, you had to have an SIR with it as well. So that was all logged. Then you had SIRs that you didn't want people to see. Whereas if you were working with someone and you saw something that wasn't quite right, that you saw an officer coming out of cell, or you think they're having an inappropriate or getting too close to somebody, so you want to report that to the higher ups. Now, whether it might be a case of you don't think they're doing anything, but they need to be aware of, maybe they need to move wings, or you need to move a prisoner, or whatever. It may be a way of helping your teammate, your staff, without having to broach the idea of saying, look, you need to be a bit careful here, I've noticed this. You might not want to say that to them. So the SIRs go up to security, and they're logged every day. And one of the managers, whoever's on shift, or the security manager, will log them and will look through them. As it got more, technology and all that, it all got put on a computer system, so you didn't have that. Because no one wants to see your SIRs lying about and reading them and saying, you've just grasped me, you've just kind of grasped me up. Apart from that, as well as them SIRs, you had a higher level of anti-corruption within staff. Carl Byron was head of that, of anti-corruption within staff. So he was getting all the SIRs, information of suspected staff who were doing things that you shouldn't have been doing. He had control of the SIRs, the computer system. A lot of SIRs were going missing from, information coming in regarding him and other people. So he had it all pretty much his own little network locked in. The thing with it, I can't believe how he was let to get to that level. Now, whether or not the senior managers knew about it, whether they were in on it, or whether they were just oblivious to it, they're the three options now. If they're in on it, fair enough, they were in on it. I can that will give me some explanation to say, well, yeah, because that was how it was. Because I can't believe they were that stupid to let that happen, or naive. The second one was if they didn't know, they were oblivious to it. If that's the case, then it's possibly even worse, because they're that stupid that they'd let that happen.
Yep.
And we're talking over a period of years. This now, when Byron got arrested, this all happened under certain managers, Sonia Ebbs. This happened under Matt Spencer's reign. This happened under Neil Pearson. Not one of them got took to account. They were their managers. Obviously, I got arrested.
At the end of the day, number one is ultimately responsible for everything, all the way down. If it's your jail, whatever's happening in, death's in custody or something, it all comes to your door.
And this was, and nothing, they were not held accountable to any of this. If that was me and I was looking at Sodexo, it's all across Manchester Evening News. It's made all social media. If I'm bigwig in Sodexo, I'm thinking, how the hell's that happened? How has that happened? How have they let that under your watch? Because, as I say, people knew, or people suspected of what was going on.
Yeah.
So it's either one or the other. They're either in on it, or they were just absolutely oblivious.
Just a point you said, when you got arrested and that, Well, talk about that, because you didn't talk about anyone else, did you?
No. When Byron got arrested in the summer, see, first thing I thought, now Carl had already stitched a few people up when he was in the management role. He got people demoted because he thought they knew about him. He got them demoted on the strength of a relationship with the personnel manager. I know that for a fact. I know for a fact that Sodexo were made aware of the situation because something got posted on social media.
Yep.
And Sodexo knew, and they made provisions to make sure that information didn't get out. And I can't really say much more than that.
No, that's fair. Fair dues. The people we're talking about are decent people.
So that happened. So they were aware of something, Sodexo. So they weren't oblivious to that. They knew something was going on. So he was stitching people up. He was bullying people in the background. So we got arrested because information came to the police of what he actually was doing by an ex-member of staff. So he got arrested that day. Now, from that day on, I think obviously the rumours were going around. There was rumours of Byron had put a list in about so many people, because I knew he had lists of eBay accounts of people that worked there. He had names. It was just his sort of, fallout. If he had something to fall back on.
Yeah, exactly.
He was like a puppet master. He knew he had an out. So I knew he knew what I was doing. So for that first 6 months, I'd come into work every day, looking over my shoulder, thinking I'm going to get a knock on the door.
Did you still do your job to the best of your ability?
Yeah. To be honest, for the first month, I was a bit ratty. Do you know what I mean? Ratty. Yeah. I was short-tempered, and staff had picked up on it, and they were like, "Albo, you all right?" And then and a couple of people who knew me were like, "You all right, you?" I'm like, yeah. Just I'm pissed off with work. I've got no staff, and I put it down to that, but it wasn't. It was just me thinking, looking over my shoulder all the time, and I was, and people did mention it, and they, because normally I'm quite a happy-go-lucky lad. You know what I mean? I'll have a laugh and a joke. I never used to really lose my temper or anything. I'd see my arse, don't get me wrong, days when something happened, I'd see my bum or whatever, but normally I'd be alright, I'd have a laugh and a giggle and whatnot. So, but I did my job, yeah, and I know it sounds, people will go, well, you were bent, and I know people can have that opinion, and that's fine, everyone's entitled to that. I was never, and I never would ever do anything like that with drugs or bring things in. All I did, and it's not all I did, I'm trying to make light of it.
I know what you're saying, I
took DVDs and games out and sold them, that's what I did. And
shitloads of people did as well.
Yeah, but that's no excuse, no. I did what I did, and I've got I can't, make any explanations or blame anyone else. What I did was absolutely stupid, and I've ruined my life over it. I did. I come in and did my job like I did normally, not an issue. And after about a few months, it all died down. But the rumours were going around. You always threw a load of names in, X person's on it, you're on it. So, but then after a while, it calmed down. But then every time he made a court appearance, it come up again. So it was a bit like that. It died down and whatnot. And then one day I was on shift, normal day, doing what I was doing, just ready to discharge an escort in reception. And a girl, Debbie Ingham, who was she was the new security SO. Yeah. And I'd worked with Debbie for years on B-Wing. She was a PCO man, great officer, great girl. She said, listen, you need to come with me. So I was like, all right, okay. And I knew from her face what was up.
How long is this after he was arrested?
A year.
A year?
A year, yeah. It was more than a year. He got arrested, I think, in June or July. Because the day he got arrested, I was going to my mate's dad's funeral. I always remember it. Because my head fell off. Because I was going there, and I knew my mate's dad well anyway, George. And so but I couldn't think of anything else when I was at this funeral. I was thinking, oh shit, man. I got home. Because I was living in Manchester with my girlfriend at the time. I got home and she didn't know anything. She wasn't aware of I was taking games or whatever. Yeah. So I had that on my conscience. I was thinking, for fuck's sake, I'm going to get a knock on the door here, my relationship's going to go, I'm going to fucking thrown out the house, I'm not going to have a job. So this was all like in the back of my mind while I was trying to do my job. So the end of August, I think it was, yeah, Debbie, so you need to come up. So I knew from her face, so she said, I think it's something to do with the Byron thing. because obviously the police were up there. I didn't know that at the time. So I said, right, okay, called Howard, my mate, given me keys and cuffs, and basically said, I'm going upstairs, I'm going to be walked off. I didn't know it was police involvement, I just thought I'd be walked off.
Yeah.
So he was like, right, okay. And that was it. I didn't get a chance to say goodbye to anyone. Got took up to the security office, or one of the rooms, conference rooms off there. Sonia, loving it. Right, come in here for me. Then there was 2 police officers there. Said, we're investigating the car buyer investigation. We believe you're involved with the theft of games. So I was like, right, okay. Obviously, never been arrested before. Okay, so you're sort of trying to take stock of what's going on. And he said, we're just waiting for your 2 mates. So I was like, fucking hell, who's this going to be? Because I didn't know who was doing what.
You were just doing it on your own?
Yeah, so I was thinking, who's going to come through this fucking door now? So anyway, next minute, Paul Hewitt and Aidan Bly, who worked in the security team, they came in and obviously got told the same thing. They were shocked. So yeah, so right, you come into the police station, answer some questions. So okay, give me a badge over, give me keys over. They said to us, you know, we don't need to cuff you, do we? I was like, no, of course you don't. So where I thought we were going to be walked through into the vehicle lock, put into the police cars and gone. But no, Sonia made a point of, during main movement, I think it was as well, she made a point of having the police vans in a sterile area. Loads of prisoners walking about, loads of staff walking about. I go in one van in front of everyone, in the back of the van. Paul and Aidan get together, get put in the other van, separate. They were in that van, I was in that van. And then I was took to the police station. So obviously, your mind's going.
Can't even imagine, mate.
Well, no. Obviously, you're in there, you're an ex-prison officer, you're in your uniform. You know, you want to tell, you know, because my partner worked in the still works in it. She's not my partner now, but she worked in the jail, so I needed to tell her, look, kind of thing. So you just want to get home and explain. So I got put in a holding cell. You know, took your belt off you, take your laces off you, all that kind of stuff. And then I got brought in for questioning. The officer was a nice fella. Asked if I wanted a legal representative, which I did. I got one of the legal aid lady, Jane. She was lovely. Give me the information. This is what you've been arrested for. This is what the information you've got. It was my bank account of money that had gone in from eBay, PayPal. There was a company called CX, which is a game shop, which I was taking games and selling them online. So that records, you know, were in my bank. So there was no way I could argue that this money had come from anywhere else but from a workshop within the jail. So she advised me. Obviously I had no dealings with the law before, so I said, you know, what do you suggest? And obviously her first words, well, in a custodial sentence. And Carl hadn't been sent to jail, Byron. He hadn't been had a court case yet, so I didn't know what he was going to get.
Yeah, you didn't know what you were expecting.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was expecting. So when she said custodial sentence, and you know, you got a son, do you want to get home quicker? And it's as stupid as it sounds, I'd had this for a year hanging over me. It was like a relief kind of thing to tell them. See, I thought I'd got away with it, and I never took a game again, and I just cracked on with my life. So I thought I got away with it, but when it was there and it's black and white, and you know, there's where the money, can you explain this? It was like, I can't. And so she basically said, listen, if you tell them everything, that's going to be a third off your sentence straight away. So that's a third of the time you're going to get home to your son quicker. So that was all I was thinking of, really. And I just wanted...
Had you already made your mind up, you were chucking your hands in anyway?
As soon as I got her, as soon as she... Because you can't... How can you say you lied? They already knew Byron anyway had been arrested a year earlier. He knew there was evidence. I didn't know what evidence they had at that time. I just knew that was my bank account. So they knew that he was doing it. He went not guilty originally, from what I remember, because he was saying the games he got from... I don't know how he explained where he got these games from. You know, you've got your eBay account and you can see how much you've sold. Where have you got 20 FIFA 21s from? You know, all they have to do is take a picture of the workshop to the jury and say, this is a workshop, this is where he worked, these are how much you sold. Explain where else you got them. You can't.
You can't.
I'm not daft. I'm not stupid. I've got some level of intelligence, maybe not the best, but so I was adamant. So yeah, no problem. I'll tell them. So got in, the police officer was right. Can you explain? And I told him. Just basically told him everything. Said this is what I did. I was taking games out. I was going to shops around Liverpool. On my day off, I'd go to different shops, you know, because I didn't want to go to the same shop.
Yep.
I was selling them online, eBay through it was my mum's eBay account. She didn't know anything about it because she's an old lady, like, so I just used an eBay account, set it up in her name. So I admitted everything. I said, this is what I've done. I said I was stupid. So then they asked me about Byron. Did you know about Byron? I said, well, yeah, I knew about what he was doing, explained everything. And then they were asking me about other people, you know, who was involved, because obviously Paul and Aidan were in the other cell.
Yep.
And I didn't know what Aidan and Paul were doing. You know, I said, I honestly don't know. I said, I can't speak. I don't know what everyone else was doing. I can't give you any names who else was doing it, because I honestly don't know. I could have suspicions, like anyone, like you said. People walk around with a bag, they've never been in the gym.
Yep.
But other than that, you know, I can't say any names. I said, all I can do is tell you what I did. And yeah, so I was in there for a couple of hours. I mean, the police were on the way to my old address where I lived on the Wirral to search the house where Archie's mum had moved back in, and I've not been there for a couple of years, so they had to stop them, the police officers, to go trying to search my house a year after the event. Anyway, I didn't have anything there was no games, so then they went round to where I was living, to my girlfriend's house, and they were great with her, and they said, listen, he's made the mistake, he's admitted everything, try not to be too hard on him, kind of thing. And they were great with me. You know, they said, listen, it's not the worst crime in the world for them, you know, it's still bad. But you know, you've not killed anyone, you've took games and whatever, try not to be too hard on yourself, you made the mistake people do. So that was that. So they were happy. They were happy with me. They were giving me explanation. They were happy with everything I said. It all worked. It all made sense in context to the game shops I've been in around the area. Because they were like, well, you must have gone to. You've been to Bolton. You've been to Oldham. I was like, yeah, but I just went round. You know, no one else was doing it for me. I wasn't in conjunction with anyone. That's what I just did. You know, to move it round. So yeah, so that was it then. I spent the best part of the day. I think I got out about 4 to 5. They kick you out. They take your phone off you. So I didn't, because obviously they're going to check for phone records and all that, and to make sure I wasn't involved with anyone else, which was fine. Nothing came back with that. So you get through out on the street and in the middle of, I don't know, Salford, Swinton police station, in my uniform with my boots, no laces in. My world's ended. Do you know what I mean? I've got no job. Well, I knew what was coming with that.
I can imagine the worst thing was having to tell people, like your loved ones and that.
Yeah, well, I had to go home. I didn't have my bank card or anything. They'd seized my car. They took my car off from the garage, from the car park in work, so I didn't have a car to get home. So then I had to. They phoned my partner and explained, is he all right to come home? Because I didn't know if she'd want me there. Yeah. So she was like, yeah, come home, kind of thing. So I went home, explained everything to her. Obviously she wasn't happy with me, so yeah, so that was that. And then you know, you've got to try and think, what fucking hell, what am I going to do now? Apart from the obviously worry of jail, my son, trying to explain that, because he was like, he would have been probably about 8 at the time. My parents, and then trying, and you know, there's going to be a long road ahead now. What am I going to do for a job? How am I going to pay for a solicitor? Is my partner going to want to stay with me? If not, where am I going to fucking go?
Shit street that, mate.
Totally, but again, my fault. Yeah, so Paul and Aidan didn't get out the police station later on, for a later learned, until about 12, because I think they made no comment, you know, on theirs, because I think they needed to work it out in their heads what they wanted to say, and whatever, and tell their loved ones. I just straight away just told them. So yeah, and then I didn't hear from the police for a year after that. Not one phone call. I didn't know if I was getting charged. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. Now, in that meantime, Byron had been sentenced.
A year?
A year.
So it was a year from him getting arrested
Yeah.
That's a long time, that, innit, to do an
Horrendous, because your life's on a standstill. And then I was working. I got a job with me ex-partners now. Dad, he gave me a job in like a factory, doing work which I was shit at. I was really useless at it. I was working on nights and things, and I was insecure. I was worried about losing my girlfriend, and I was arguing with her and being an idiot. So she split up with me. So I had to move back to the Wirral, bin bag, clothes in a bin bag, back to my mum's. So I'd lost literally everything, and I was really at a low point. But I couldn't move on because I didn't know what was going on with regards to me, if I was going to jail, if I wasn't. And you can't move on with your life. I couldn't get, because I was on legal aid for the solicitor. I was doing menial jobs. I ended up working in a child's nursery for 6 months. Yeah, a friend of my mum's, she needed help, so I'd gone from working with the worst of the worst, dealing with lads, and then I was changing nappies and singing nursery rhymes.
Really?
Yeah. Look back now and it was grim.
Well,
not grim.
No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
It was such a come down from what I did.
Yeah.
And the looks you'd get from the dads when you were picking them up, and you're thinking, who's this guy? And then you're taking them for walks, and then you've got 4 3-year-olds, and I've got these bands on, and I'm walking them down the street, taking them to the park, and then cars are driving past.
So prison prepared you for that then?
Prison prepared me, yeah. So I'd gone from that to changing nappies and singing songs. So it was a hard time, and with not knowing what was going on. In the meantime, Carl had been sentenced. He got 2 years 4 months. Anthony, who is his colleague, and I feel sorry for Anthony a bit, because he was brought under Byron's wing, and he just got lured into it. He didn't know any better. When he started, he was an auxiliary.
Yeah.
Then he got put straight into the security team. So Byron kind of used him for his own means. So I think he got just under 2 years, because on their phone records of their phone, they were bragging, saying, "Oh, we're the best thieves in Forest Bank. We're doing this, we're doing that," and that all come about. Plus, he went not guilty as well originally, and then changed his plea. So I had that. So it was a long time. So from actual him getting arrested, then me getting arrested, that was a year. A lot of change in my life with regards to moving back to the Wirral. Didn't know, I got a couple of people had been in contact with me from work, good friends. They looked past what I did, and they were looking out for me and whatnot. So I was still in contact with a few people, but apart from that, I didn't know anyone around the Wirral, because I'd not not been there for a long time. And it was a case of what's happening. Am I getting charged or am I not? And then about a year later, then I actually got charged with the offence, which was theft.
I can't believe they didn't charge you at the time if you'd gone guilty on it.
I don't know.
And they got evidence.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they were sort of dealing with us together, me and Paul and Aidan, but we weren't. Although we worked in the same place, I did what I did, they did what they did. But it wasn't like we were in it together kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I think they were putting it as one joint venture, or dealing with us all the same for whatever reason.
Did them guys go not guilty at first?
I don't know if they went not guilty or they just made no comments.
Because if they obviously throw their hand in and they're putting you together, then that's gonna delay your.
Well, yeah, it did, and because when we were originally we went to court, I think in the December, but that was just a preliminary thing, just to plead. I think they were not guilty originally, because I got a third off mine, but they got a quarter taken off.
That's why yours will have been put off if they put you in together.
Yeah. So that was just hard, because you can't move on with your life. I can't find a place to live, because I was at my mum's. I was living on her couch, which I still am. Because I can't move on, because if I get a place and then I've got a court date and then I get sentenced, then who's going to look after my stuff, or who's going to clear the flat? So I couldn't do anything like that. So I went to court in December.
When?
It's what we're talking now. December 2000, and I got arrested in 2018. So it would have been 2019.
Yep.
Then it got put back to the February. They got adjourned to February, which I thought would be for sentencing. So took my bag, took everything with me.
Yeah.
And obviously you've got your worry of I had to worry of my son because Archie didn't know anything about this, and his mum didn't want me to tell him anything.
Yep.
Because there's a chance I might get a suspended sentence. Very slim chance, but there's a chance. So
yep.
He's a very sensitive lad, so I didn't want him worrying about that, or she didn't want him worrying, which was good in hindsight, because in February it happened, I took all my bag, ready to go. He got adjourned again because the judge didn't know anything about Byron, so he didn't want a sentence. He didn't want a sentence because he didn't know anything. He wanted to give a fair indication.
Yeah.
So we got adjourned from February then till September of that year. So again, it's another 7 months of not being able to move on or put plans in place of getting a decent job. I was doing crappy menial. I was working for a shop fitters company, which was minimum wage.
Fair dues, you were working.
Yeah,
a lot of people that are just like...
Yeah. So I was doing that, and then it got adjourned again till September. So I'm thinking, right, defo gonna go, you know, steal into it, and then obviously you're going to be an officer going into jail, which isn't going to be the best.
Yeah.
So you're worrying about that and what goes with that, and then got adjourned again. I think another 2 times. I think so. All these times you go home with your bag, expecting to get sentenced, not getting sentenced, going home again. I'm thinking I just wanted it. In the February when I first went, I wanted it.
Yeah, yeah, of course you do.
I said, deal with me on my own. I said, I've got nothing to do with them. I pleaded guilty. Just let me do it, get it out the way, do me jail. If I'm going to jail, do it. I just want it out the way, you know, because we were talking 3 years after the actual offence. So it's 3 years of your life that's on hold.
Yeah.
Which is, I understand that, and COVID as well came along, so obviously.
Now, I tell you what,
yeah.
It's these cases now that...
Yeah, so it just kept getting put back to that, which I understand, but it doesn't...
Well, you're part of that, aren't you, lockdown and that?
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, of course. So yeah, so it came to that stage, and it's just, you know, for me, I was proper down all about it, because it was just never ending. And obviously, you know, you come to, you know, you're at that age, I'm 40 odd, and I was like, what am I going to do now for a life or a career? They've got fucking literally nothing, because obviously they closed my bank account, closed it, just sit one day, just took my card. So I had not had pennies to my name, do you know what I mean? Because obviously I took a lot of money from the games, and I had a life of having a few quid, not like millions of pounds, but you know, you had money in your pocket, you know what I mean? And if they'd have froze my bank account when he got arrested, there was money in there they could have took. I had nothing, and then obviously I lost my job. I split up with my partner, moved. So I didn't have a job. I didn't have any money. Didn't have a place to live. So you know, you think the worst. You think, what's the point? I mean, I may as well just, you know.
Did you have them thoughts?
A little bit, yeah. A little bit, I did. I thought, you know, it's embarrassing for me, for Archie. You know, I've disappointed him. Disappointed all my friends, that, you know, because you know, the job, I did love my job, and I loved a lot of the people that worked there, and I understand the frustration when I left, and it was a shock for them, because I'd brought shame on them, really. And they get a lot of bad press enough from the MEN and for stuff that you know, does go on, don't get me wrong, but a lot of the staff are good staff and good people, so I understand that they didn't want anything to do with me, and you know, I understand that. But I did have them thoughts, and I don't particularly have that many friends, so, but I had my son, so, you know, these fleeting thoughts, and you think, oh, I may as well just jump in front of a train, you know, because what am I going to do once I get out of jail? I'm going to be... so yeah, you have a bit of those thoughts, and then after a while, obviously, your relationship breaking down, which, because I was dead happy, do you know what I mean? I was living in Manchester, loved living in Middleton, Oldham, loved living there. Had a good relationship. I was dead happy. The kids were good. Archie loved coming up to Manchester, seeing all his friends up there. So that was that as well. It was not just the losing your job.
See, people, when you see people talking about going to prison, they don't talk about this stuff. You know, they talk about prison. When I were in prison, they're not telling you effects on family and that and other things. You know what I mean? And when you got your son and stuff like that.
Yeah, it is. It's hard, you know, and obviously I knew what I was going to expect, because I'd worked in there for 15 years, so I knew what to expect with regards to regimes. I knew what I was going to get. I knew what was allowed and all that and stuff like that. But you don't know what you're going to get on the other side, because you're on the other side of the door. The staff aren't going to want to know you, because you're, in their eyes, bent staff, which I get, not a problem. I understand that. The prisoners are not going to want to know you if they find out that you're an ex-prison officer.
Yep.
You know, I've seen what happens in jails. I've seen how easy it is for someone to pay somebody to do something.
Yep.
So you've got that on your mind, and it's not being a shitbag, but you've got to think. I've seen people die in jail. I've dealt with it. You know, people. You know, sometimes they just get beaten up. They don't mean to kill someone, but it happens. I've seen it firsthand. So
sadly, yeah.
I've seen people get, you know, stabbed. I've seen the worst of the worst. So you can't just say, oh, you know, I'm dead hard and I'll take it. You know, I was shitting myself in a way.
When did you get sentenced?
February of this year.
February of this year?
Yeah. So it was 3 years.
Yeah.
After being arrested.
So how long did you get?
I got 15 months. See, when we turned up, it was like, are we going to get... Because I was hoping for a suspended sentence. Although Byron had got 2 and a bit years.
Yep.
He did a lot of that. He'd only done 2 weeks, 3 weeks in Leeds, and then went to an open cat day.
Yeah.
This is the kind of lad he is. You got caught with a phone, even in jail. So I was hoping for a suspended. That was slim chance. You know, I spoke to my person once, and she interviewed me. She even put me a referral. She thought I was suffering from post-traumatic stress syndrome from working in the jail and all that, and that kind of thing.
Complex
so I got a good report, and I've never been in trouble and whatnot. But the judge, you think the judge is going to know something about you when you actually get to the court. They're going to know your career and say, well, he was all right. He's took games and DVDs, but 15 years as a prison officer, never put a foot wrong. I've got a good career, done a lot of good service. I've never been in trouble before, you know, blah blah blah. But he didn't really know anything. He turned up on the day. And he looks at you, and he basically tells you, you know, you're getting a custodial sentence. So I was there with Paul. It was only me and Paul that Aidan, the other lad, his has been adjourned again because his wife was charged with something with regards to money. So it was only the 2 of us. So Paul and me were there, and I didn't really know Paul even when I worked with him.
Yeah.
He was just a colleague. Yeah. All right, bullshit and all that. Have a good laugh. Done. You know, we've had incidents together. We've laughed about it. We've done stuff. He worked in the security team. Always had a good lad, but I didn't have a relationship with him. It was only obviously when we got arrested about a year later. I got his number and said, "Have you heard anything?" Because I haven't. He was like, "No, I haven't heard anything." So we started talking after that, like when we met each other, when we kept going to court and whatnot. So we got a bit of a relationship and that, and his partner and stuff. So yeah, so that on the day we went there in February, and it was like, right, you're getting a custodial sentence. So I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. I went on my own because no one to go with me, like, so okay, because I hadn't told Archie or whatever. I wrote him a letter, and his mum was going to tell him if the worst case scenario.
Yep.
So it was like, right. So the judge was like, well, you robbed from the Queen, basically. That was the kind of thing. He was like, right, you Albertson, you robbed from the Queen, you're in a position of trust. And I get that, I wasn't in a position of trust, you know, and he was saying, well, how can a prisoner come to you for advice, or how can a member of staff come to you for advice when you're stealing games? So it was that kind of slant, which you can't argue in that sort of, that side of it, but it never affected my job. I was always a good officer, and people could always come to me.
I know that. I know that.
I mean? So that was the kind of the way that the judge looked at it. He said, look, you went not guilty straight away, commendable. And then I think Paul, because he didn't go guilty straight away, he was like, well, why did you not go guilty? And when Albertson's already gone, you should have done what he did, you know, blah 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 blah. And then you just wait, and then so then. Because it comes under, because there's so much money, it comes under, it hits a bracket. If it's over so much, yeah, that impacts on you how long you're going to get.
On the sentence, yeah.
So they were trying to put us both in as one, the judge, and it was like, well no, we're separate. He did what he did, I did what I did. Because if we'd have put us together, it would have hit a bracket, and then we would have got longer together, which wasn't the case, because we had nothing to do with each other. So we come back out, went back down, come back out, we're like, for fuck's sake, we're thinking we're going to get slammed here. Because Carl got 2 in a bit, we're thinking we're going to get that or more. So basically, give us the same amount of time, give us 15 months each. So I was quite happy.
To serve, what did you have to serve?
Well, 7.5, but then obviously you get your tag. so I only served four and a bit months. So, and then the reality hits then, you know, you get walked down into the cells, and the GO vans, you know, they're the same ones, the staff on the vans are the same ones you've seen coming into Forest Bank all the time. So then you look at it and you recognise the face and they ask if you're alright, so yeah, okay. So you're in your cell then, so you're getting sentenced and you think, oh, okay, now there's where it all...
Did you know where you were going?
We knew we were going to Walton, yeah, we knew to go to Walton.
HMP Liverpool guys?
Yeah, because obviously we had friends, and Paul's partner still works in Forest Bank, so yeah, we knew we were going to go to Walton's block as soon as we were getting sentenced. So we get put in a sweat box, and then we drive to HMP Liverpool. So
did you go through normal reception?
Yeah. I mean, I've been to Liverpool doing transfers in the past anyway, and I'm from around there, anyway, not from Liverpool, I'm from Wirral. So I know its reputation. I know, you know, lads who've come from there. So yeah, so we get to Liverpool. Staff are all right. You know, it was during lockdown anyway, COVID. So it was, you know, it was a bit weird anyway.
Do they have VP wings there?
Liverpool do, yeah.
Did they offer you a VP wing?
No, we were going straight to the block.
Did you know that?
Yeah. I knew we were going to block and that. So we got there, go through your prop, what you can have, what you can't have, which is self-explanatory. Like for us, we knew what we were doing. Yep. So you go on the block anyway, right? Strip search, whatever, and then you get took to the block. And then, like, Walton's an old jail, like, you know, your Strangeways is the same Victorian building, very sparse, old. So yeah, we get to Seg, and then obviously you're thinking, well, what's the staff going to be like, because we're ex-officers. So we get to there, and then you get your led to your cell, open your door, and then there you go. And then for lads who have been in Walton, you know what it's like. For people that don't, you know, I'm used to the Forest Bank's a new jail. Yeah, you know, it's quite plush, really, if you think about it. And then you go to Walton, high ceilings, the bed, you've got a bed, a plastic seat, a little toilet to the left, and that's it. That's all you've got. A little blanket, which is like hospital beds, you know, orange fucking things.
Woolly blanket and
yeah.
And the green sheets, the prison green issue sheets.
A pillow that's like
knock someone out with.
Now, like a brick.
If you hit someone with that, you kill them, wouldn't you?
So yeah, that's all you had. So it was like, right, this is real, this kind of thing. So
what? I don't want to bring it back. So put you in your cell, slam the door. Is that, apart from holding cells, first time in police cells you've been in an actual cell locked in on your own?
Oh yeah, I've never been in trouble. You know, I've been in cells with keys, you know, on doing the job. But yeah, I've never been in a cell as a prisoner. So it's like you sit on your bed and you think, what the fuck? You know, it's reality now. And you're thinking this is, although you're hoping you're getting your tag, it's still 7 months. You still think it's 7 months not seeing my son. Because I knew even if visits were, because it was COVID, but I was never going to let him to come to see me anyway. So I sat on my bed, and within a minute, I had someone at my door straight away, prisoner, one of the cleaners.
Orderlies, you have orderlies in Seg, don't you?
Yeah, the orderlies, yeah, who do the food.
They sort of live down there, clean the showers, serve the meals, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So as soon as I got there at my door, which one were you? Which one were you, lad? Were you the security screw, or you were the governor? And I was like, well, doesn't really matter, really. You know what I mean? I'm here. Were you the cunt? Excuse my language. That was his words. I've got to use the verbiage. Like, I was like, no, I wasn't. I said, I thought I was all right. I said, but I've done what I've done. They knew we were coming. Yeah. They knew we were. The cells were there. Prison staff knew we were coming. The orderlies know we were coming. So, yeah. So he was at my door. Right, you. So that was it. I thought, this is going to be a long few days, or however long I'm going to be.
You didn't have any idea how long you were going to be stopping there?
Nah, no, I didn't.
Were the staff all right with you?
Staff was sound. I mean, once I thought that the lads, see, when he comes to my door and he was like, and to be fair, he was all right. He said, listen, how long have you got? And I was like, well, I've told him. And he was, listen, that's easy. I know for lads who have done a lot of jail, 7 months is nothing. So we were like, don't worry about it. You've done what you've done. Do you know what I mean? He said, you just got to try and get you that. He said, fair play, it'll always stick with me. He said, this will be the worst bit of your jail. He said, because it's Walton. He said, you're down here, you're in the block. He said, this will be the worst thing. Once you move and go elsewhere, he said, you just got to try and keep your head up. And fair play to him. And you know what I thought? He didn't have to say that. You know what I mean? He was sound. So yes, that was the first day, but I still didn't eat. I didn't eat for 3 days because I thought I don't fancy any spice in my food, or do you know what I mean? I don't want to be frothing at the mouth of myself, choking to death. So I didn't eat for 3 days, you know. And the lads, and fair play, they always like, listen, lad, you need to eat. You're not it. And he was saying, when in the morning when they come in to give you your cereal and whatnot, he'd say to the lads, say, listen, you need to eat because you're not it for 3 days. And I was like, yeah, all right, I'll try. But I didn't, because I still thought you still got to put something in your food. Yeah. But the staff were brilliant. The staff were dead nice, and they were good. Like, you know, SEG lads, CSU staff. You know, you get to, when I worked in there, you'd like big lads in there. You know what I mean? Because you know, if things you have you have a lot of
violent places, of course it is, and dangerous places to work.
They were big lads, and they were Scousers as well. So you know, I got on with them.
Oh, boys from the hood and all that.
You know that. So, but they were sad. We got out for a shower in the morning. 5-minute phone call in the afternoon to speak to Archie, explain to him. His mum had explained to him, so I wanted to make sure he was all right.
Was he good with that?
He was okay. Did he understand? I don't know what his ins and outs, what his mum said or what told him I was in for. But he was fine. He said, I wrote him a letter. I've got like a book with all pictures of me and him together, so he could have that. So we took it, and he's got great grandparents as well that look after him, and so we had a good support network. I knew he was going to be fine anyway, and he's quite a level-headed boy. So spoke to him once. I spoke to him, and he was all right. And, you know, he was a bit upset, but he understood what was going on. And then it's basically just a regime, because you had nothing in yourself. You had fuck all. So I'd get a book, I'd read, try and do some exercise or whatever. So, and you get it's like you just become a prisoner. You just get a regime in your head, and that's why. How
long before you accepted it? A few days?
Couple of days. Don't get me wrong, the first nights when you've got nothing, you're just sitting there looking at the wall, you're freezing because the cells were freezing. There was no heat. It was February or whatever it was. It was absolutely cold. But I never, I didn't ask the staff for anything, never bothered, never mind, I'd never got on my buzzer, just sat there and looked. But them nights, when the nights come in and you don't know what time it is, or fuck all, so then you're just trying to get your head on this fucking brick, trying to sleep, freezing. So you just got to try and just forget about it. And
how long were you at Walton?
A week.
And then where did they send you?
We were there a week. Just regimes as normal, every day. Just have a shower, sleep in the morning till dinner time, read your book. So you get into sort of, and do you know what? It wasn't that bad. Once you got into reading a book, you should read a book a day. So you time your days, your dinner time, and you get on your head, right, dinner time, I'll read some more, get your head down by 8 o'clock, it was dark. So it wasn't too bad, and then I started eating, and one of the lads, the orderlies, comes to me and said, listen mate, we're not going to do anything to your food, you just need to eat, because you're not here for fucking 3 days. So I took him on his word, and what I did as well, when I first got into Walton, I brought money with me. I brought like 50 quid or whatever it was. I brought an A4 pad because I wanted to start writing.
You let you have that?
Yeah. So I got that in my canteen. So I got a pen and I was writing. So I just started writing about my life, about what I've done, about my experience of being in the block, how I felt, that kind of stuff. Because I wanted to think maybe I could write something about, my story or whatever. So I was writing as well. So I started eating, and the lads were fine, orderlies were alright, no issues, the staff were fine with us. Obviously we were kept segregated from everyone else. We would go out for exercise, me and Paul, on different yards next to each other so we could have a chat. The lad on the other cell was a bit of an oddball. He was chatting to me through the vents, and that kind of stuff. So you'd have a little chat with him every other day. And then the governor, you have your good order review anyway, which is sat in front of the governor. He asked us if there's any issues. No. Where do you think we'll be going? Don't know. Okay, no problem. And then on the Sunday, the governor comes to see us doing his rounds, and he was like, you're all right, I've heard you're not a problem down here. I was like, no, not a problem. Do you know where we'll be going? He said, no idea. He said, but you'll be going soon.
They're not going to want you in the block, are they? They need the cells.
Yeah, they need the cells. I mean, to be honest with you, it's the quietest block I have ever known. I think there was one lad that was accusing of everyone trying to kill him, which you get. But
yeah, of course you do.
Apart from that, it was dead. There was no one banging the doors, no one kicking off, no dirty protest, no one flooding out, nothing. It was I said to the lad, the staff, I said, fucking hell. So you've either got this on lockdown kind of thing, or you've had an easy week, or a couple of weeks. So yeah, so he said to me, they obviously don't want us in there. They don't want us around the northwest because there were the threats to us.
Yeah.
Being ex-officers, like. So that was the Sunday. He said we'll be going soon, and then the Monday morning he said, right, you know, you're getting transferred. I was like, where are we going? We were like, Lincoln prison. Lincoln. So I was like, okay. So we packed up, thanked the staff, thanked the orderlies, said thanks for looking after us and that. And then we got put on a van. We had to make a stop off at Leeds, I think. I can't remember if we changed vans. We might have changed vans or doing something. We were picking someone up. Stopped off at Leeds, and then drove to Lincoln. Then.
Did you finish your sentence at Lincoln?
Yeah. Well, I thought if we'd get Cat D, you know, because we weren't a threat to anyone. Lincoln,
no spaces, Cat D, is there?
No, Lincoln's a Cat B local, which was like Forest Bank, but in Lincoln. So we think, you know, we're gonna get there and they're gonna know who we are.
Yeah, nothing.
Fuck all. They just turned up, and the SO just looked at us and we were like, has anybody told you about the transfer? No. I was like, for fuck's sake. So what do we do now? Do you know what I mean? It's like, what you do for the best. So we said, well, we'll go your block until you can find. You speak to a governor to let us know what you're doing, because you've got. Although I'm not trying to be a shitbag, you still got to be careful.
Oh, of course you have. Yeah.
We're all right together, me and Paul in a cell. Don't be wrong, but if I go and if you want to put me on a wing, I might not go in a cell with him. I might get put. Else.
True.
But obviously COVID and all that, you've got to isolate at the time anyway. So we were like, we're not trying to be in our beds, but we don't want to. We don't know anything about Lincoln. Don't know what kind of stuff are. I don't really want to go to sleep in a cell with someone I don't know and wake up with fucking shiv in my eyeball. Do you know what I mean? So because you know staff.
You're going to worry as a prison officer, same as coppers, same as anyone who's in that sort of authoritarian position.
Yeah, and even though we were out the way, it still doesn't mean that information doesn't get out. You know, a member of staff can find that out easy enough. You've only got to Google your name or on your wing, because you know you get two lads from out of area, where have you come from? You know, Bolton block. What you there? Blah blah blah. So it goes like that. So we said, you know, we'll go to block, and he said, well, no, you can't go to block. So where do you expect us to go then? So they said, well, you can sign up for OP, which is with the
own protection.
VP, like, you know, with your debt heads. So we were like, well, what's that entail? Because I'm not going on a sex offenders wing. So he said, right, E-wing, I think it was. So you can go on there, you do your 2 weeks, or your week, COVID, I think it was 2 weeks, COVID. So you're on your own there anyway, the two of you. Kept away from everyone anyway. Own showers, own regimes, and all that, own exercise. Until we speak to someone who knows about you, and then we'll find out if you're going to get transferred again. So you're on your own wing away from everyone anyway. So, but like the VPs or the debt heads, they were downstairs locked off, and we were up. So we were like, right, well, if we can't go to block, then we've got the beds. We'll do that for a week or so, until we find out what's going on and get some information. So we ended up on this wing, this wing away from everyone for 2 weeks. And then the SOs came to us and said, you know, what are you going to do? Are you going to go on the rest of the jail, or we can offer you can go on this VP, which is not sex offenders, just debt heads.
Yep. What it means by that, own protection, you had it Strangeways and that, it's people who get in debt in the jail, so they're at risk of being harmed, so they keep them separate. At Strangeways, the OPs used to be on the sex offenders wings, they put them together. Yeah,
it all depends. The different jails are different. Like Forest Bank had so many VPs in the end because there were so many drugs and so much debt.
Yeah.
They had to have their own wing away from the OPs. So you've got to weigh it up, and it was like, Paul, what do you want to do? You know, do we take a chance and just go a normal location and then see? But then you've got to think, well, apart from like the worst case scenario, you get hurt. You've got, if you get in a fight, like you're on a nicking, you're not getting your tag.
Yep.
You're not getting out. You're not going home early. You know, if you're in the showers and you know you're looking over your shoulder, you've got an exercise yard, blah blah blah. So you've got to think, all right, even if you get in a fight, defend yourself. You're still getting a nicking. You're not getting your tag, so you're not going home early. So you got to think, do you want to go home, or do you want to try and be the big man and whatever, or do you want to stay on this VP with the people who are on debt around Lincoln? So we said, listen, we'll stay on here till we know where we're going, getting transferred. And the long story short, we stayed there. They never bothered with us. They were
Keep
just
your head down.
didn't speak to anybody. We had our own cell, went out for showers, kept ourselves to ourselves. The staff were fucking useless. I mean, it's gone from, you go from Manchester, dealing with Manchester lads, Manchester gangs, Manchester criminals,
yep.
Scouse criminals. You know, there's that mentality of the way they are. They're just that's the people, the northern people. Lincoln was just a different kettle of fish. There was you look on the wing, you know, on the wings and on the exercise yards and that, and it's a different level. There's
different culture, isn't it?
Yeah, there's just nothing going on around there, and the staff were just asking. I think I asked one question and they didn't know anything. And it's like anywhere, new staff, new staff.
One question in 5 months.
One question in 5 months. I didn't get on my buzzer. I couldn't be arsed with them. Get your canteen. Canteen was you highlight your week or whatever. That was shite. There's nothing to order on your canteen. And then you just get in a routine, and then you see it from the side of the prisoners. I mean, you always have an empathy and understanding of what they're going through, prisoners, with regards to phone calls and personal problems and all that. And it's the little things that can turn them, you know, off one day. They might just lose it all just because the regimes are wrong. And you sit like me and Paul, we have in the shower in the morning. Oh no, the showers are broke. We have in the afternoon. So you're like, oh, bloody hell! I was watch Bargain Hunt this morning. You know, that's your day. I've got tipping point on it like R4.
Do you know a lot of people have said that? Very sadly, when you're in prison, you know exactly round dinner time what programmes on, what shites on, what you're gonna...
And especially because of COVID, you lock behind your door. We were behind our door 23 hours. If you
How
want
did
to.
you find that?
Hard work. I mean,
I'm not saying it was easy for you guys, but probably better being in with a lad who you knew.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, me and Paul, we didn't know each other like personally wise, but then you're building a relationship with him. And don't get me wrong, the first few days you don't want to go to the toilet in front of each other. You know what I mean? You lose.
These are things that people don't realise, do they? It's not. There's nothing. It's no holiday camp. There's nothing about prison that's pleasant. You don't get any time, any personal space. You know, you don't get to do anything when you want to do it, and people will say that's how it should be, but
yeah, it's you do. You honestly, so for them first few days you're constipated because you only so in the shower you got to go for your showers and all that. So you go, Paul, do you want to go for your shower? And I'll just go to the toilet. So then you got to try and go, and then you little things like that, but you got to use the toilet. And then after a while you just can't be arsed. You just get used to each other and you just go to the toilet where you pull the curtain across, because in Forest Bank you didn't have these curtains. You just used to have to go to the toilet, and then if someone made their own self-made one, you pull it down. Like, you're not allowed to have that. But then that's just the rules of that jail. But you think, if I had to actually sit there in front of him, but at least I had the curtain to pretend I was somewhere else. You know what I mean? And you'd have to tell it on loud, just so you didn't have to listen.
So when did you get out?
June, July, I think.
So it's still quite.
Yeah, well, it went quick, but it didn't. But like you're saying about the TV, that's all your life is. You know, that's you had your footy sometimes, your match your day, you had something to look forward to, you had film for, so you'd plan your week, you'd write what was on, films, and sometimes you don't get on, you're arguing over some stupid shit, you know, football, that was an offside, or you know, you do get ratty with each other, you don't mean to be, you know, but imagine that if it was someone you didn't know. You know, if I would have went on my own, if I was kept separate and dealt with, I would have gone on my own. So I could have been put up with, I would have been in Lincoln with somebody, unless I demanded a single cell, which I wouldn't have got, unless it was a case of, well, I might get hurt. But I was lucky in that respect. But even so, you still have your little quibbles and arguments and over some stupid shit. And we used to have a laugh. I mean, I know it sounds stupid, but you'd have a laugh, you'd say stupid stuff, and he'd get wound up because Paul's Scottish and he has a bit of a short temper. And one day he ordered juice on his canteen. I've got to have my juice, and the lad didn't have the canteen. It was fucked, and they didn't even have their own canteen place in the jail. It was outside, so if he didn't get it, well, you just get refunded.
Tough shit.
Tough shit. So I've not got my juice. He's like, well, I can't, what you having? The officer was like, why are you having a go at me for? He's like, well, I'm not, but I wanted my juice. So that was it. He's wind him up. Where's your juice? But just stupid little things you found funny. So we kept each other going in that way. But again, no privacy. You got your phone call. You got to speak to I speak to Archie, or he'd speak to his partner, and you're on the phone to each other, or you're in the cell 23 hours a day, because we never went on the yard. I thought, fuck that, no, can't be arsed. We'll just do our own thing. And the staff didn't speak to us at all. I mean, you're talking about, I said to one of them once, I said, you know, with mental health and self-harm, they didn't look into our cell once. So we could have been lying there all day dead. You know what I mean? If you want. I didn't know any of the staff's name. They never introduced themselves. They never had any interaction with you. And I don't think it was because we were ex-staff. I think they were just fucking useless.
Didn't have an interaction or
nothing. I didn't know any of the names. And I put a complaint in about something. I can't remember what it was. Something stupid. I can't remember what it was. And it was about, a letter had gone to another wing.
That's a prison letter. You don't have to put a stamp on it.
Yeah, but
it was
emails. It was emails. It was like old school. So they were coming through, and it had gone to another cell, and it was from Archie or whatever. And so I kicked up a bit of a fuss. I said that could have gone to anyone. I said, I know it can't be that hard to sort out. And then I had the security manager ringing me and all this. I said, listen, I know how it works, but. So I had the SO, and the SO sat me in the office, and he was like, have you got a problem? He said there was a problem with the staff. I said, no. I said, but I've not spoke to any of you in 4 months. I said, you've not done anything with regards to helping us or giving us any activities, or we're just behind the door kind of thing. So yeah, but it went quite quick. But it was some days it went quick, some days it didn't. You get your bad days and your weekends. For some reason, your weekends just dragged. Don't know why.
I think weekends always drag in prison. Me.
Yeah, but there was no routine, there was no regime, so it was exactly the same day. It wasn't as if we were out on association or anything like that, because there wasn't any. But you're just counting your days really and hoping you get your tag. But we didn't even know we were getting our tag till the day before we got out. Like the OMU didn't come and see us, OCA never come and saw us, nobody come and saw us. Yeah, so it was challenging. It was a long 4 months. So we're out in June. Yeah, I lost about a stone and a half because the food, I've never known food like it. Oh God.
Listen, I think the camera is going to run out any minute now. I want to continue this conversation, yeah, and then because I've got some questions for you about prison, because you've gone through prison in lockdown, so I'll prepare them. But then I would like to talk about the special provisions at Forest Bank. Special provisions, basically, prison was put under notice, is that right?
Yeah, recently.
It was that bad. They've got to make a lot of improvements. I want to talk about that. You know about that. You know about a lot of people still there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd like to come back and ask some questions about lockdown as well.
Yeah, no problems.
Are you cool with that?
Yeah, sound.
Thank you for your honesty.
My pleasure.
Yeah. No, it's been a pleasure, mate.
No, enjoyed it. No,
and I'll see you soon. We'll talk about special provisions, and I want to ask you about lockdown, because that's becoming the norm, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Towards the end, as I say, that was pretty much the regime of Forest Bank, and there was reasons for that we'll go into. But yeah,
jobs are good, yeah.
Yeah, sound.
Nice one. I'll see you there.